Good morning, all. This is John Heerdink. I'm the managing member of Tribe Public, based here in San Francisco. Tribe Public, as you all may or may not know, if you're new to it, is a platform that enables investors and interested colleagues of yours to gain direct corporate access to the leaders of companies that they care about, and through our in-person events that we have across the U.S. and our webinars like today where we have tribe members from across the world. Please visit our website, tribepublic.com, TRIBE public.com, for a complete list of disclaimers, and know that I am a shareholder of the company that is presenting today, Lantern Pharma, which is NASDAQ listed company, publicly traded company under the symbol LTRN. Note too that I'm not acting in an investment advisor capacity, and that you should always consult an advisor if you're not an advisor to complete your due diligence and see if it's a suitable investment for yourself. Lantern is also in its CEO, Panna Sharma, who will be presenting today, may also make some forward-looking statements that may or may not look to update. And you can please review all disclosures at the Lantern Pharma website. I'm also the managing director of Vista Partners, a California registered investment advisor. The website is Vista P Global, VISTA Global.com. Please see the list of disclaimers there and know there's content on Lantern and other companies like NVIDIA, et cetera, that you might be interested in. Today's co-host, again, is Panna Sharma. He's the Chief Executive Officer of Lantern Pharma, again, NASDAQ symbol LTRN, and they're a leader in AI-driven cancer drug discovery and development. I'm excited to introduce you to Panna today. I know some of you met him out on the road recently, and note that the stock has actually been trending very nicely over the last couple of weeks as people are discovering Lantern and its breadth of interesting developments that they have brought to the table for you and I. I'd also like to thank you for participating in this, and thank you for those that have sent questions to us, and know that you can send more questions through the Zoom chat feature during this event. We are going to have a hard stop at the half hour, but we will have the video up of this presentation at the Tribe Public YouTube channel, hopefully later today, as soon as possible. And then know that you can, through our wish list process at Tribe Public, if you don't get all your questions answered today, know that, and/or you want to see Panna out in your tribe or your city across the U.S., he might be interested in, and probably would be interested in, hosting a live event for you if we get enough interest in your area. So please express your interest in doing so by sending me an email at john@tribepublic.com, or just go to our website 24/7, 365 and add Lantern to your wish list. It's all free. Now let's get started today and hear from Panna. Panna, can you pull up your slides and begin?
Hey, John, thanks. Yeah, John, thanks for having me on with your tribe, and I want to thank all the tribe members for listening in, whether morning or afternoon. I want to talk about perspective and why AI is starting a real revolution in not just healthcare, but very specifically in medicine and even in longevity. It's a pretty exciting time to be at the forefront of where data, genomics, and AI are all coming together. So I want to share some background and perspective this morning, and then dive into the details of Lantern, because it'll help you give a broader concept of where does Lantern fit into this new kind of AI-enabled worldview that's changing every industry. And then I'll talk and highlight a little bit about our drug programs. We're not just an AI company, we're actually an AI company that has successfully built over a dozen drug programs now that we're bringing to market, and we're actually dosing patients. Let's get into the big picture. I want to put the innovation cycles into perspective. Now, some of the early innovation cycles like electricity and refrigeration and the automobile, they took 60, 70, 80 years to get to really saturation points. Even some of the more recent ones like AC and dryers, and it took about 60 years. Smartphones, 40 years. Internet, 30 years. Social media, 20 years. These innovation cycles, and again, this is a US perspective that we've gathered from a number of sources, including Global X ETFs. I want to thank them as well. But if you look at the cycles, these innovation cycles aren't generational anymore. You can have multiple cycles in your generation. That's really exciting because that means that's a lot of opportunity to disrupt and change where spending happens and how it happens. And that means opportunities for investors. And we've seen now things like ChatGPT get to their first million users, like literally within weeks, which if you look at Facebook or Google, any of the other apps, they took a couple of years. Cycles are happening faster. Faster acceleration of these innovation cycles means more opportunity. We're still in the early days of this AI and generative AI cycle, but it is going to really change what is going on in every industry. We've already seen it. It means disruption, it means new players, but it also means lots of increases in productivity. And so I want to kind of share that backdrop as we dive into more of the details here. And of course, if I can forward my screen. So we're still in the early innings, and I don't want to make any mistake, but that's really where the value creation and the massive opportunity happens. And if you take a look, even in the early days of companies like Amazon, and even early days of companies like Cisco, yeah, there were a lot of volatility. In fact, in 2001 and again in 2008, Amazon lost 80-90% of their market value. Now, long term, it proved out to be a great play, but the down cycles are really critical. And over time, patience is key, but you got to play with the right players. I've highlighted for you where we play today. Lantern Pharma, we're an innovator in the early stages. We are an AI drug discovery company with a lot of great proof points. And this cycle is early, but it's disrupting faster and faster. And as we said, we think this is going to be less than a 10-year cycle to get to mass saturation. So that's quick. And we play in this space around gene therapies and genomic sequencing, and using genomic sequencing really to drive our insights about our drug development. So albeit early, prime of opportunity for investors, for consolidators, and for people who can think about things that we are just dreaming about. I mean, longevity, we think about it, but we're actually going to be given tools and the interfaces to change how we live and what we eat, what pills we take, what exercises we do, what insights we have into our own bodies, that in the past we relied on lots of experts. And they would do large-scale data analysis studies like the Harvard Health Study or the Harvard Heart Study. It took 20 years. And they would come out and say, okay, well, don't eat fat, take this pill. But now that can happen in a matter of months. And more importantly, it doesn't happen at Harvard. It can happen at your desktop. It can happen in an app that you have on your phone. It can happen because you're wearing the right devices that gather that information and that are constantly tuned by outside algorithms. It is going to be a world that is going to change not only the living patterns of humans, but it's going to make our medicines cheaper, faster, and safer. And again, we're in the early days of this, and Lantern's at the forefront. So there's going to be a massive savings across healthcare. It has to be. There's just no other way that this trend cannot continue. But the massive impact will really happen in what I call the barbells of healthcare: the making of therapies and drugs and interventions, and then health operations. In health operations, that we don't play there, I've highlighted where we play. And then, of course, there's lots of medical diagnostics and health monitoring and AI-assisted robots and things of that nature, which you're going to see, I think, probably like 50% improvement in medical outcomes, maybe more. If you look at some of the National Bureau of Economic Research and evaluate pharma, they think 30 to 40%. I'm a little more bullish. But already in drug design and clinical trial operations, we're seeing on our own side, we're seeing a reduction by about 60 to 80% in cost. We brought a drug to market in terms of bringing it to first in human clinical trial in 2.5 years. That normally would have taken 5 to 7 years. It would have taken $10 to $20 million. We spent about $2.5 million. So you're already seeing, and it would have been a team of 10, 12 people. We did it in a team of, a couple people. So we're already seeing that in drug discovery and designing clinical trials, it's really smashing the costs. And that's what we've been doing. That's why our burn rate has been fairly nominal compared to drug discovery companies. Ours is, has ranged between kind of, 3 and 5 million a quarter, which is very low. If you take a look at one of our peers, they just announced their earnings about 2 days ago. They spent $74 million that quarter. 74. Now they do have more drug programs, but again, it's about, for us, we're only focused on cancer. We're not focused on 100 different conditions like some other companies. And I think that focus allows us to have a lot of better, I think, impact. But getting back to the barbells, for investors, drug discovery and development, massive area, because in the future, the game is going to be changed. You're not going to go raise $2 billion to maybe get a drug to market. In 5 years, people are going to say, you got to get a drug to market in 100 million or 50 million. And that is going to change the pace of innovation. Second, very important thing is health operations. Analysts estimate that AI-assisted robots and all the data that's available will totally change documentation, note-taking, patient communication, insurance authorizations, where we have this bureaucracy of healthcare, just workers and people with paperwork crushed. They think about $900 billion in global annual savings. It's massive, massive. And I'm particularly very excited about that. I think that's an area that's very needed. Again, huge opportunities for investors. So for us, people always ask, why you guys have so much data now, 60 billion data points and growing. We think we'll get to about 100 or even more billion this year. Where do we get this data? And it's because sequencing costs are decreasing. If we look, this is courtesy of Illumina and also Nature magazine, but look, sequencing costs today are at a point where they've never been. They're going to approach $100 a sequence. And the amount of sequences that are being done are increasing. This is log scale, by the way. So this isn't just linear, it's a log scale. We're looking at 10 million, 100 million sequences, a billion sequences, et cetera. So there's more data out there, and this data powers engines like ours. The vast majority of the sequencing still is in oncology. If you look at this, it's almost 2/3 oncology driven. And that data powers engines like our RADR engine. So we're gonna have more data, but what about, where are we in this life cycle, in the curve? We're gonna have all these technologies, from wearables to automation and robots to cardio health to AI drug discovery. These technologies are gonna slowly collide, become more consumer facing, and allow the gamification of our health and wellness. So you're not just taking a drug, but that you're also in a regimen. Maybe not in oncology, but definitely in diabetes, definitely in cardiovascular. And this is going to create massive opportunities. So we're going to become more friendly around your health. We're going to be given tools, just like athletes are today, high-end athletes. There's thousands of dollars spent on them every single month on monitoring every possible biomarker, both digital as well as actual physical biomarkers in their body, to improve and optimize their health. They're measured in terms of microseconds and millimeters on everything from physical skills to sharpness, acuity, what they take, how many calories, et cetera. And many of them have contracts. If they don't follow it, then there's going to be challenges. But a lot of that will leak into the consumer world, and the technologies are there now. They don't cost tens of thousands of dollars. They're getting to the point where we can create these technologies for dollars at scale. And that means that consumers will adopt it. They'll monitor their therapies, they'll monitor their eating, they'll monitor their outputs, and they'll monitor how that is, because it's, when you take one drug, it's not going to be always the same drug over your entire life cycle of that disease. And so this is really exciting. Earlier intervention, better monitoring, and almost a gamification, which is going to drive a lot of opportunity. Now, the other thing, that all this data, you got to analyze it, and you have to have these large language frameworks. And so the training of these tools, we always hear about things like ChatGPT, which is pretty large, one of the largest large language models, and it's really good for certain things and isn't good for other things. But we're taking certain of these LLMs and now pointing them to specific areas. Like for us, it might be molecular optimization. For us, it might be being able to read scientific papers really, really rapidly and summarize them and take out pieces that are relevant for us for our drugs. All important. I consume maybe hundreds of papers a month, but an LLM that's trained specifically to read the way some of our senior people read in an oncology company, guess how many papers they can read a day? about 50 to 60,000.
Wow.
There's not even enough content for them to read. So imagine if I want to know everything that's going on in non-small cell lung cancer, because we have a program there, and I want to know everything that's going on in certain biomarkers for, say, DNA damage repair and inhibition, I can get that now at my fingertips overnight. Whereas maybe I would have to churn through lots of papers. Maybe I have to make correlations between different papers and between different data sets. Now it's delivered to me about 80 to 90% accurate. So we're here now. We're spending, although the industry analysts think we're going to be able to spend about 6,500 training these large language frameworks out in a couple of years. We're doing that now. We're averaging between some 10,000 to under 20,000 per training sessions. Lots of training sessions. And I think this is going to go down further and further. If you look what analysts think, training these frameworks will cost $75. This is just 6 years out. It might be even lower than that. So that means massive opportunity. I mean, there's no way that you could have done it as an individual 4 years ago, 3 years ago. It would have cost you $1 million, $500,000. They say 450,000 in 2022. I think it might have been even higher, and the tools weren't as accurate. So are you going to try this? Probably not. But at $75, of course, you can try it 20 times and get the perfect right ones. This is going to change productivity massively because healthcare and longevity are data-driven exercises. Right now, it takes us too long to collect that data, analyze that data, think about what's therapeutic, what's interventional, what's diagnostic. It takes years. So that's going to be totally crushed, and it's going to be put in the hands of the consumer. So costs are driving down, technologies are increasing, and more importantly, the data is available. So to me, this is particularly a very exciting time, and this is why at Lantern, let's say get into our story now. What are we doing about Lantern? Let's see. Let me stop this and get to the Lantern presentation. You guys see the Lantern presentation, John?
No, unfortunately, it's just the black screen at this point. And
well, I should have had a robot do this instead, actually.
in due time, man. Due time.
Just flipping through screens is more challenging than I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. Now do you see this?
Yes, it looks great.
So let's flip through Lantern. So how's Lantern taking advantage? Again, we're playing in a small part that's early, but super disruptive. And it's particularly exciting because we've made a lot of progress. As John said, I may make forward-looking statements, and I urge you guys to look at our website for full disclosure. So we now have 13 drug programs, and I joined the company as CEO back in the end of 2018. We had one drug program. We had no drugs in clinical trials. Today we have 5. Got 45 million of the cash that we raised by $96 million in public offerings in 2020 and 2021. It takes us less than 2.5 years to launch a new medicine, and we do it at a cost that's between $1.5 and $2 million. That's unheard of numbers. And we do it because of our RADR platform. And we do it not only for ourselves, but our business model is also to do it for other companies. We have 2 collaborations where we own percentages of other companies' drug programs or have the rights to their drug programs. So our business model as an AI-driven innovator, but focused on cancer medicines, is 1, find drugs, rescue or reposition them, like we did with our LP300 program. That was a drug that already existed, but didn't get pointed in the right direction. So we bought it for pennies on the dollar. After over $200 million was put into that program, it's now in a phase 2 clinical trial for never smokers and non-small cell lung cancer. At the same time, we're also discovering and developing totally new molecules, first in human molecules. We have 2 of those, LP184 and LP284, that are now in phase 1 trials. And we brought these to market, both under 3 years. They're now enrolling and dosing patients. And the third is to help other companies accelerate and de-risk their programs. So because our AI platform continues to grow, in fact, it's now kind of beginning to grow on its own, we've actually reduced the number of headcount and our AI team, believe it or not, over the last year, and not by design, just it happens that way, but we've actually increased the output of the team because we've automated a lot of features of data collection and algorithm creation. And because of that, we think we can use this platform actually for other companies. So we're doing that now. Our platform does a number of very important things for oncology. We create those into what's called modules. We're routinely ranked as one of the top end-to-end AI drug discovery companies by external analysts. If you look at this was done in 2022 by Deep Pharma Intelligence, and they ranked us as one of the top measured by end-to-end AI and expertise in drug discovery. So our framework to develop these molecules is to get data from lots of sources. And again, that data is becoming cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and more omnipresent, and to generate algorithms to answer fundamental questions. We put those groups of algorithms and data sources into modules, and those modules help us design and specify the drug programs with greater precision and much less time. We do it for ourselves primarily, but we also do it for companies like Actuate, where we have a small equity piece. We're pretty excited because they're now going into phase 3 trials. We're not obviously the world's experts, but being a 22, 23 person company, we work with some of the top names out there, Fox Chase. That's where we're doing our pancreatic cancer trial, UT Health San Antonio, where we've launched our pediatric cancer program, Danish Cancer Society, where we're doing work with them, and Dana-Farber in synthetic lethality drugs, which is a great target of ours, Johns Hopkins in brain and CNS tumors, and the University of Bielefeld in Germany that's helping us with our antibody drug conjugate, which is a big next stage. I think it's a big story for later this year and next year. That's actually a very exciting area in cancer. So this is our pipeline today. In fact, it's almost kind of an embarrassment of riches. When I came to the company, there was one arrow. When I took it public, there were 3, and today there's literally 13 different programs. And it's pretty exciting to create a program, because putting an arrow on this chart means that we actually believe it can do something, and we're going to spend money bringing it to humans. So again, we're in phase 2 in our Never Smoker program. We're now in phase 1. LP-184 is about 3-4 months ahead of LP-284. These are sister molecules. One works in solid tumors, and the other one only in blood cancers. And this is an exciting story, because when we saw that it worked in solid tumors, but not really well in blood cancers, we said, well, how can we change this molecule to have the same kind of potency that we're seeing in solid tumors, but also in blood cancers? And it was just an idea. When we went from a whiteboard to a registered phase 1 trial in about 2.5 years. And now we're in a phase 1 trial with this drug. We manufactured it. We got multiple publications, multiple patents, 2 orphan indications. And so that's the pace at which you can, and then we're only in the early innings. We also developed 5 programs in CNS cancers at the same time. And each one of these programs has been developed at a rate of about $1 million. So we have programs now in GBM, brain mets, a rare pediatric tumor called ATRT, and also another pediatric brain cancer called DIPG, very early. But all this will be spun out eventually. Right now, it's a wholly owned subsidiary called Starlight, has its own chief medical officer. We're going to have its own team, and they're only going to exclusively focus on the high impact, high value area of CNS cancers. So you're already beginning to see, now we're not the only company where you've got an AI platform, and the AI platform has the potential to start generating derivative companies, totally new things. You know, we thought that this was one program initially, but the opportunity and the riches became so much larger because of AI. We said it determined that it could work in these other brain cancers with these indications and these narrow areas. And every time we go back to the lab to test it with our partners, not just ourselves, it was the case. So this is really exciting. So this could be another billion-dollar play at Starlight. Then we have our collaborations where we own pieces of other drug products as well. So this is a very exciting time, very early, but the acceleration factor here is also happening. So I'll talk a little bit about just the drug programs, and then I'll take time for some Q&A. Our first program is in never smokers. It's a phase 2 trial. Never smokers have a molecularly totally different disease than smokers. Our drug seems to work well in never smokers. Historically, it's increased survival by almost 91% in never smokers. We think we'd like to see the same thing. This drug is given with chemotherapy, and so it's a combination regimen. and its mechanism of action is twofold. It engages with certain TKI receptors to stop the uptake of protein, certain proteins that cancers like. And then secondly, it modulates the redox cycle inside of the cancer cell, kind of resetting it because it downshifts the glutathione and thioredoxin tumor resistance. Now, all this was modeled in silico initially, and then verified in the lab and brought back to the FDA because this was a rescue drug. And now we understood why it worked in never smokers. And so this is really exciting because this is the kind of accuracy that AI can deliver to your doorstep and give you some comfort to go forward with the trials. So this is a 90-patient trial for those that are interested, or know lung cancer that happens in never smokers, because it happens in about 15 to 20% of the US population and it's growing. Please refer to our Harmonic trial. It's a website as well. The next drug, which we're very excited about, this could have $10+ billion in opportunities, LP-184. It works across a wide range of solid tumors, but specifically when there's certain genomic features that make the solid tumor what's called DDR deficient. And when the tumor is DNA damage repair deficient, this drug really lights up. And its mechanism of action is to create double-stranded breaks inside the cancer cell. And it's super potent. As you can see, this is done to validate the mechanism of action. The mechanism of action was determined by our platform, validated in independent labs like at Fox Chase. We verified the null hypothesis about what the driving genetic factor was, and we had some outstanding preclinical results, many for which we actually got orphan indication in pancreatic cancer and triple-negative breast cancer is indicated here. As you can see, wiped out these tumors after about 2 doses. These are in PDX models. These are mice models where a human tumor is taken and grown inside the mouse, and then we benchmark its growth versus dosed versus non-dosed versus other drugs, et cetera. In triple negative, you can see this is done with PARP inhibitors, which are a multi-billion drug category, but they became resistant. And once we dosed those same tumors with our drug, we wiped them out across the full range of these triple negative breast cancers. Now, this is not just theoretical preclinical stuff, which is very exciting, but we're actually now in a phase 1 trial. We're almost halfway through the phase 1 trial. We'll have data later this year from this trial, and then that'll power this drug to go into multiple trials, or more importantly, multiple partnerships with pharma companies. So this is the power of AI. And as I said, we're in a very small piece of this AI revolution. We're in multiple cancer types that we have orphan indications, that have really good, outstanding, solid clinical data, lots of patents, and more importantly, with the opportunity to exit to pharma partners over the coming year or 2 years. So with that, I know we're up against a hard stop, so I'll take a pause here, John, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
And
Panna,
do some
thanks.
Q&A.
Thanks, Panna. Fascinating presentation, and I know you've impressed so many as we've been out to some different cities across the U.S. and look forward to getting you out to a lot more and address some of these questions that we're probably not going to have time today, but I'll do a couple quick ones. One is, says during a recent presentation, I guess the gentleman saw a presentation in another event, but it said Mr. Sharma mentioned that the company's AI platform may be available in the cloud during calendar 24. If so, can you provide some details to how this will be monetized and how that might vary from the recent strategy of collaboration with other companies in return for an equity stake or licensing rights? Did you catch that?
Yeah, this is part of an ongoing dialogue we're having, is that we really think that we can open up our platform, but it would have to be through a tech partner or through a collaboration. So we're seeking that. And that could really put a whole nother monetization strategy. So we're talking with tech companies now and seeing if there's an opportunity, because right now our platform is closed. It's a very proprietary closed platform. We want to open it up and make it more available to the oncology community. It would become kind of semi-proprietary and maybe slightly open. But we would not do that on our own. We do that with a big tech partner. So we're in discussions. I hope it happens this year. But if not, we're going to continue pursuing our strategy of doing collaborations. And you'll hear about 1 or 2 of those in the next few months, actually.
Okay. And a quick follow-up on the cash part of it. I think you said it was around 45 on the slide. Where does that is projected to take you without any sort of other deals, grants, or whatever added to the mix? That 45, how far does it take you out?
2 years or more. Our burn rates between 4 and 5 million roughly a quarter.
Okay.
Kind of, yeah.
And you have less than 12 million shares out now, I think you bought back some shares as a company towards the end of last year and reduced your outstanding float. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
we're probably about 11.8, 11.9. Yeah, right under 12, right under 12.
Very small float. The other question here is regarding current two collaborations with Actuate and TTC Oncology, can you provide us with an update on how these relationships have progressed to date, and if the partners have provided positive feedback on the value add from Lantern?
Yeah, we have multiple publications with Actuate, so that's probably one of the best things to have with a partner, and they're using part of our signature and strategy for PD-1 resistant melanomas as part of their trial going forward. So that's a very productive collaboration on both sides for them because it helped advance their drug and their indication. For us, because we developed some new insights around checkpoint inhibitors and how to model them. With TTC, that's earlier. That's probably maybe a year behind where we were with Actuate. And I think we've got some great data, and the back of that data and some of the new insights, the TTC is actually applying for a grant. And so we hope they'll get that grant. I mean, and they'll continue to advance their drug. The team is very experienced in breast cancer. So it's a breast cancer focused drug for ER positive breast cancers. And they need to find the right combination therapy, which we think we have done through doing what's called combination modeling. And we're going now for a grant to help them get into their phase 2 trial. So yeah, it's been very productive. These are things that typical companies that aren't data and AI companies cannot do on their own.
Got it. Thank you. This is another question is, what's to stop Big Pharma from hiring IBM's Watson to duplicate what you're doing? How would you address that?
I hope they hire IBM's Watson because it'd be a total.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but Big Pharma is not going to do that. Big Pharma is going to buy companies that have proven capabilities, and they have their own efforts. They're all going to try doing something like that. I think IBM's Watson has already partnered with Big Pharma. It's yielded nothing. There's a lot of negative press about that, but AI is not just about systems and data. It's really, at the end of the day, that you have to have people who want to point it in a certain direction and have a certain amount of kind of intellectual curiosity and determination to do something different with it. That just doesn't exist always with the bigger companies. It doesn't mean that they don't have the capabilities. They certainly do, but they have to first and foremost protect their existing revenue streams, right? So their job is to protect existing revenue streams from their drugs. I mean, Disney obviously is a great example. They had to disclose in their own latest filings that their attempt at being super liberal, super woke, and going after everything actually has damaged their revenue streams. And so, not that AI would damage you, but AI can be at a level and scale that people need for it to happen to impact Big Pharma. They have to acquire companies because otherwise you're going to go after and spend 200-300 people worth of effort and not get the yield. I mean, we've been at this since I got to the company 5 years ago with a determination and focus only in oncology. And we're only going to scratching the surface, but any one of these oncology drugs can be worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, if I were Pfizer, I'd want to do 25 of these programs, right? So, I mean, the great thing would be for a large company like Lilly or Pfizer, someone to, hire, platform and a team like ours and say, look, here are the kind of resources you need. I mean, our burn rate is trivial compared to what these guys are burning in a week, let alone a month. Like I said, one of our peers burned $74 million last quarter. Their balance sheet, they have 400, almost 400 million, 360 or 380 something on their balance sheet. But when you're burning 70, that still doesn't last too long. So, it's a space that you got to be really thoughtful about what you're creating. And, are you creating an AI platform? Are you trying to create drugs? Or are you trying to take an AI platform to help with the drug development, to do it faster and cheaper? So these are all questions. And sometimes companies don't fully know how to tackle these questions. Big companies in particular, their job is to protect and maximize their profit streams. That's it. That's what shareholders want. They got to add new revenue streams, but they're going to do so, I think, very judiciously. And I think the only way to do it is to buy companies. That's why pharma buys biotech.
Yeah, and we've seen the M&A market continue to increase this year. It's been pretty interesting, and we've seen Big Pharma come way down the food curve when it comes to buying public companies, and market cap
Yes.
Harpoon, 125 million.
That's very exciting. I mean, Yeah, and a good colleague and friend of mine, Dan O'Connor, ran Ambrex, and that was a $2 and change company a little over a year ago, and they sold for $28 or something, 2+ billion. So yes, it can happen quick. Once it's not an AI company, but it's an ADC company. It's a very exciting space. I have
Yeah.
time for one more question, John.
Yeah, I mean, the last one is more of a business development idea. I guess one of the gentlemen has a relationship at St. Jude. He said, do you have interest in speaking to them in any way and developing any sort of partnership with them as you move
Yeah,
forward?
absolutely. We'd love to. We love working with experts, and given St. Jude's, expertise in pediatric cancers, and that's an area that we're focused on for later this year, next year. That'd be wonderful. So
Okay.
please
Well,
follow
I'll
up
follow,
through John, or yeah, that'd be
yeah,
great.
you guys in touch. Note that we're going to have Panna, if any of you are out in the in the Newport Beach area on March 14th and 15th. We've got a couple live in-person events, one at night, one at in the middle of the day. And just ping me if you want to see him in person and get an update here in the relative near term. And again, remind you, if you want to see Panna across the country, simply just ping me or at the website or just directly, and I'd be happy to aggregate that interest. If we get enough interest out from enough tribe members in your area, Panna would surely come out to see you, and we look forward to doing that. Panna, thanks for taking the time today to get us updated and to just educate us on this fast-moving area. I know all of us are fascinating. I'm just trying to read everything I can. I wish I was AI. I wish I could read 50,000 publications, but I can't. And I'm trying to figure out how to harness it, like probably the rest of the people on this call. And
Well,
you
I think professional providers like yourselves, are going to start using custom AIs built to be a John too, be a co-pilot in your professional life to read those
it's not,
papers that you want to read.
I don't know if we need John too, but we need something better, right? Let's just get him better. I'd love to have that and have somebody sitting next to me like that. But no, Panna, thank you so much. Remember, Panna's company is Lantern Pharma, symbol NASDAQ LTRN. Call me anytime, and look forward to sharing ideas with you. And Panna, thanks a lot. Have a great rest of the week. Anything else, and look forward to having you back on.
Thank you. Bye-bye.